All right, come on in. I can do it. All right, good afternoon. All right, thanks for coming today. I hope we got a very talented panel, as you can see here. And for those of you that know these gentlemen, I didn't plan for all gentlemen, by the way. Very talented group of investors and agents, and all of them kind of do a different category of, or a different strategy, I should say. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the wide range of opportunities that they're going to instill into you, and hopefully you take to your investment strategies if you're an agent, and put it into your practice. If you're not an agent, I see some non-agents in here, I love it. Well, you now have sources to acquire your investment properties. So before we get started though, I'm gonna get started by opening up with a few things here. And I'm good. Okay, thank you. Is Daniel in here? Our sponsor for the event today, and happy hour right afterwards. So stick around. You guys can mix and mingle, meet and chat with the panelists. The Title Alliance Gilbert has provided that. Daniel Lopez, I don't see him in here, so thank you, Daniel. All right, so this is the Wealth Builder Mastermind, and we started this sometime last year. And so Gary's definition in the Millionaire Real Estate Investor of financial wealth is: true financial wealth is a place of security and abundance where you're financially free to stop working for a living and start living for your work, your life's work. Who wants to do that? Yes. Who understands what that means? Kind of, maybe? Yeah. Okay. Well, said differently, it means your passive income exceeds what your monthly expenses are, or annual, right? So that you don't actually have to go and work for your income, that your money is working for you and provides you passive income, regardless if you were to show up anywhere, any day, anytime. Does that make sense? We need to hear from these guys how they're achieving that, working towards that, or have achieved it. We'll find out, right? Find out. All right.
Learn today.
Okay, so the path of money. Who's seen this before? If you've been in a room with me recently, you have seen this. Okay. The path of money, there's two kinds of capital. There's human capital and there's capital assets, right? Human capital means you work for your, I'm gonna move fast so we can get to the questions here. Human capital means you're working for your money, right? The second type is capital assets, which means your money's working for you. Simple enough, right? You work for your money works for you, which creates cash flow. Now you have cash flow that you have options to deploy however you choose to deploy it. You can spend it, you can donate it, you can hold it, or you can invest it. Okay. From there, you have two basic choices, investment choices, and two different positions from lending and owning. One is passive, money market, CDs, bonds, T-bills, right? Stocks, REITs, mutual funds, and somebody else is controlling those assets for you on your behalf. No control, right? Does everybody know? Everybody follow me on that? Okay. And you can raise your hand to stop anytime and ask questions. Okay. The other side of it is active, which means on the lending side, you're doing owner financing, private lending, and you're going to hear these guys talk about some of that, I'm sure, today. Or you can own businesses and you own real estate, right? You control it. Those two options provide you financial returns, and it goes right back up to your capital assets and start all over again, right? And you continue to build. And it's consistency over time that builds your true financial wealth, okay? This is what it looks like over time. At the bottom here is you working for your money. Usually we start off with 100% of our income coming from our daily activities of what we do on a daily basis for work to earn money. And as you can see, the goal is to move to 100% where your money is working for you. Does that mean you have to stop working?
No.
Does it mean you have to retire? No. To me, the retirement is the holding tank before death. That's the way I think about it. Because if you're doing what you love, then you're probably going to continue to do it till you can no longer possibly do it, right? So the idea of like I'm working towards a retirement, has anybody said that or thought that at one point in time? Yeah. Yeah, it should be the journey on the way, right? Okay. And then over time, as I said, consistency over time, this is what it looks like. This is your time. This is time, this is net worth, right? An income earner that stays just an income earner, their net worth over time stays relatively flat. Okay, a modest investor obviously is better than just an income earner, and then a true investor, one that wakes up every day and says, what should I be investing in? What piece of real estate should I be buying? What business should I be investing in? This is what it looks like over time. Which one would you prefer? Very smart crowd. We're on to something. All right, good. Okay, so I want to share this with you real quick. This is Gary's. Gary gave this to me a few years ago, and this is how he evaluates whether or not he's going to invest into a business. And this is what I use, and this is what these are some questions that I would recommend for you to consider as you're looking at different opportunities. Number one is why. Why do I want to go into this business? Okay. Number two, what's the profit potential? What's my minimum profit amount I require to go into business? And what is the profit opportunity of this business? Number three, the competition. What is the competition's current value proposition? Number four, what is the unique disruptive value? What is the unique value proposition to consumers, to employees, to salespeople? And then what's the performance? How does the money flow? So I'm sharing these with you, and you have anybody Paul, we use slides if you would like. But as you get and you start listening to these guys and the amount of business they're doing and the deal flow they're doing, you got to get really clear about what you will invest in and what you won't, right? Because the more opportunities that you have coming your, what ends up happening is opportunity begets opportunity. So you end up saying no a lot. But it shouldn't take you 3 days to say no. Does it take you guys 3 days to say no? No. How long does it take?
My man in front of it before you asked.
Huh?
5 to 10 minutes or better.
Yeah, like Sean's right, sometimes before they even ask, like they already know that there's non-negotiables. Like there's certain things that people don't do, so they still bring the deal and they already know it's enough.
Okay, so we're gonna hear about, hear about that. He's laughing back there. You don't take no for an answer, I think.
No, Sean does not. What if we add 2,500 square feet? We buy the property next to it. It's a deal.
Yeah.
$1.5 million house with 500,000. I'm just busting them out.
Yeah.
I love you, Sean.
Okay, do we have any questions so far? Yes.
Can you explain number 4?
Number 4, unique disruptive value. Yes. A unique, what is your unique value proposition? So basically, let's say you make coffee mugs. You're going to go make coffee mugs for a business. What is going to be different? How are you going to compete with another manufacturer of coffee mugs? What is going to be your unique value proposition around what you're providing to the consumer? What's going to be different, right? In other words, if you can go down the street and buy the same coffee mug for $4 and you're selling them for $8, how well do you think it's going to do? Right?
And maybe you have an inspirational quote, or you've got brass knuckle handles, or like something different about your coffee mug that might make it unique.
Yeah. Exactly. Great question. Anybody else? These are just to kind of give you some things to think about, right? Now we're going to dig into the meat. So, all right. So here's our panelists. Let's run through, and if you'll just go, Henry, starting with you, and run through and introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Well, I'm Henry Downing, with a little history. Well, former Marine, and then was flipping out here. I started doing drive reports for a bidding firm back in 2009. That's how I learned the Valley, got to see what investors were looking for on the properties, how to quickly analyze what needs to get done. And then I went to the auction, started bidding there, networked there, then started partnering up, and then I eventually by myself started flipping here in the valley.
Okay, great. And you got a lot more.
I got a lot
See
more.
how that evolves. Okay, great. So you've never done retail real estate?
No, I got my license at the time just for the purpose of comping and listing my own stuff, but then once you get no volume, it's kind of tedious to try to do your own listings and do all that stuff, so.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm Sam Openshaw. I own and operate Openshaw Real Estate Group with Heather. We work with Jesse Herfel here. We've done a lot of flips on our own. Well, a lot, to me, it's a lot. We're about 25 flips so far. We started out with nothing and kind of grew up from there. We used hard money before, but so I'm going to explain kind of hard money in the not hard money way. Looking to really expand in the flip market, also in the hold market, in the commercial like multi-door market is huge. One resort in Minnesota that's done really, really well for us. That's a little bit about me, but there's more to come.
Okay.
My name's Matt Chick with Impact Real Estate. We're
He demands a clap. There we go.
No, not really doing. We have the retail side of our business and we have the investment side of our business. We believe no agent should be one-dimensional. So we teach every aspect of real estate, whether it be sub to wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, multiple doors. We kind of play in every aspect of the investment game, pride ourselves on it. So absolutely love it. It's been amazing. This year we did 42 units, combination of wholesale, fix and flip, and we sold 210 houses as a retail business as well, for around 75 million. Only been in business for about 4 years now. Woo! Impact!
I'm Lusk. I'm the director of sales for the Klaus team here in the East Valley. And so
Awesome, man.
So I'm going to share a couple of things that we're doing a little bit differently than here. But we did, I think just under 200 million last year, 465, 68 units, something like that. And a lot of that was institutional type stuff. It was also bulk buying for some investor buyers. So we're working institutional opportunities where, like as an open door partner, for example, we get first opportunity to make offers on denials. So I'll kind of talk about how we do that and how those opportunities have arisen from those relationships, because we get straight shots at opportunities to flip it, the numbers are right, or to just list if it doesn't make sense to jump on it.
So for those that don't know what an institutional client is, what is that? And then you said open door.
Yeah, these are going to be privately or publicly traded companies that are buying real estate in bulk. So that's your open door, OfferPad, a lot of REITs, a lot of institutional, like big money hedge funds that are buying multiple properties that you'll never see. It's happening off market. They never hit MLS, and it's a huge, different market. And so we worked hard over the last many years to get relationships with some of those, and then that's helpful for some of our investor clients, for ourselves sometimes as well. So we leverage those relationships to find opportunities either for ourselves or for our clients.
Okay. So, all right, so let's jump in here. First question here, and again, we're not going to have everybody answer every question, but if you do have a specific question for one of these guys, be sure and ask as we go along here. Okay, so it's more of a discussion as we move along. So let's start off with, what is your overall investment strategy? What assets do you invest in?
I think I'm my cheat sheet. But, my main strategy is the Burr strategy, and I'll explain to him. Basically, if you guys aren't familiar, it's buy, renovate, refinance, repeat, and it's the best one. I mean, you get to take your money out and then put it to the next asset and just continue to grow your portfolio. I do.
Who's heard? I had never heard that acronym before.
Yeah.
I guess I know the concept, but I never heard of Burr.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna adopt it.
There's a lot of
So buy, renovate, refi, repeat.
Yeah.
Right. So so you're gonna go in, you buy it for how much?
In my market right now, 50,000.
50,000.
What market is it?
It's in Queen Creek.
It ain't in Arizona.
In
I
2008.
guess
No.
it's Kansas, right?
Yes, you buy it. Okay, so you buy it for X amount of dollars, average sales price,
50, I buy it,
okay?
put
You rehab
30,
it,
30, and then probably like 150 to 200 ARV.
okay?
So then depending on the lender that you have.
ARV is after rehab value,
Yep, after repair value and whatnot.
Okay.
And then depending on the lender you use, they're gonna give you 80% LTV, 75 depending on it. Then 80 for simple purposes, 200 ARV, that's 160 loan. So then if you're only into an 80 and you got 160 loan, you're taking out 80 untaxed capital gains, but not capital gains. And then now it's gonna cash flow for you, which out there, the average rents are like $1,000, $1,200, and a 160 mortgage is maybe like $800 or something.
Wow.
So
so you bought it for 50, you put how much in it?
30.
30, so your total investment is 80K.
Yeah.
You refi it for how much?
160 loan. There's values, it's got up from like 200 to 175, but just for a simple purpose of mathematics, 200 ARV and then 80% LTV loan is 160.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, and so the debt service on that is how much?
probably 800 or so.
800. Okay, there's the mortgage, and what is the rent?
Like 1,200 bucks.
1,200. So he's positive 400, right?
Plus the 80 pulled down.
Yeah, so he bought it for 50, you put 30 into it, and he's now in a total of 80, refis it out at 160, which means he put $80,000 in his pocket. Can he go buy another one of these?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, then he's holding it, and it's positive cash flow. Does anybody remember the days you could do that here?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. It was a big awakening in the last year where my maps coach was like, hey man, I know things are going crazy in Arizona, but have you looked at other markets? Because I'm coaching agents in the Midwest, Kansas City, St. Louis, Springfield, Missouri, right? These towns, he's like, you can get a way better cash on cash return and more cash flow on these houses. So I started looking at it and actually picked up the first one about probably 5 months ago in this town called Springfield, Missouri, which I've been to, but it's like a college town. They got Bass Pro Shop headquarters there. They've got a new Amazon distribution center, and for whatever reason in that area, you can get these houses ready to go for a couple of, like this example, exactly 200 grand. Put 25% down, 50,000 out of pocket per, and this one might rent it for $1,450 in less than 2 weeks with a payment of like $790. So essentially it's about 10% cash on cash return for what you would put in to what you get out after expenses of property management, repairs. Like my first year repair budget, I'm at about 2/3 of that in the first 6 months. So the hope is I budgeted well enough that I'm not going to super exceed what I already knew I was going to pay anyway. But you got most of your repairs up front, and hopefully you're not going to have a ton of repetitive repairs after that. But the point of different markets is, I mean, Arizona's, we all know it's crazy here, but start looking. I mean, Oklahoma City, Norman, some of those suburbs. Missouri's been great. Kenny just bought, I think, with Sajik, they just bought, I think, like a 30-something unit in Ohio. So it's amazing that you can get better returns a lot of times in different markets because people aren't saving up money to buy the houses. So the values aren't necessarily going up very, very quickly, but the rents go up because there's more competition because less people are buying owner occupied.
So what you're saying is ROI is no state lines, right? Go to the market where the numbers make sense for you.
Which Kansas City are you in? Kansas?
Both are KCMO, KCK.
How do you get into different markets?
You could do your own little research, but I have a relationship with Hard Money Lender that's been lending in different states. So he'll, like when Houston occurred with different hurricanes, they come check out Houston is a good market. It didn't work for me then. And then he told me Casey is popping, so I went there, connected, and it was just like.
So you actually had to go there.
Yeah. The other one I just recently found on my own is Toledo, Ohio. But
I think what you're gonna learn about all of these guys is they go to where the opportunity is quickly, right? Life's too short to move slow. Okay, I'll come back.
How many rentals do you have? What's your goal? And how determine if you keep them as a rental? Like, what's your metric for keeping them as a rental or selling them?
So in a year and a half in KC and Toledo, I've added 300 doors, over 300 doors. I'm constantly closing. There's 3 entities that I buy under.
How much time?
Year and a half. Since COVID
300
happened-
in a year and a half.
Since COVID happened, I left Arizona. I went. So it's a blessing in disguise. The COVID has kind of pushed you to get out there.
And then what's your goal?
I don't have a goal, but like he said, this is my passion. So like for me, it's like projects keep coming. And as far as like if I decide to keep them, once I refinance, I get appraised and it's not gonna cover my debt, then I'm just gonna sell it. Cause I know like you guys have maybe not have experienced it, but a refinance appraisal and purchase contract appraisal, they crush it. They fuck you on the refinance.
Not that far.
If you didn't say it, I was.
Like, you know, I had one property that appraised and it came back at 80. I'm like, you guys are like wrong. And then like, and I had sold it off to my friend. I'm gonna buy it off in a few months. I just put the purchase contract at 150, came back at 150. The $70,000 difference. So, you know, that's the way to be creative too, is figure out how to sell the property off or buy it off. It makes it easier when you have a purchase contract to get the proper value, as long as the comps are there, obviously. But
So it sounds like your goal is to not be out of pocket with the capital
Yeah.
to hold a deal.
yeah, my goal on anything is to be nothing out of pocket at the end of the deal, and then still have a positive cash flow. So that's why for me, it's like I don't do like, oh, I need $1,000 per unit because I don't have any money. So I'm taking out 30 to 50 depending on. I'm starting to move into like larger multifamily. So we just closed on a 41 unit and then a 35 unit multi-use. So you know, like those, the cash outs on those were way larger. So.
No, what's my question? Do you have any capital left in those 300 homes?
Negative.
And you're burning that money out? Is that how, like, when you refinance, that's how you're getting your capital back up?
Yeah. So you build relationships, understand your lender, meet their criterias, and but yeah. I have different lenders. So I have like your hard money that I took me out to KC, that he was 18 initially out here in Phoenix, and then he still is, but he just closes quick. And if you're only gonna hold it for short term and he has no points, it's cheaper than going to like 8% and they're charging you 2-3 points and everything else. You're gonna hold it for like 4 months and then add value, refinance it to your longer term lender. So I use like my quick ones that's anywhere from 12 to 18% on the stuff that want to move quickly and they're cheap. I'll use them, and then for my long term stuff, I'll go into my non-QM loan. So you're gonna want to find a lender that's a DSCR product, that's not or debt service coverage ratio. That's like not gonna go off your income. They're gonna go purely on the income of the property. So they're gonna want like a 1.1 covered of your. If your mortgage is gonna be 1,000, they're gonna want like 100 or 1,100 bucks that the rent's for. And they're like, cool, that's gonna cover it. And we have 40 or so that we've refinanced so far under that non-QM product. They're gonna be tapped out. You go conventional and all that, like 10 loans and you're kept out. When they find another partner.
So I heard 2 things there I want to point out. So who's thought I'd love to do that? One, but not 300, but I don't have the capital. So you have to have the capital to go by 300.
Well, yeah.
You have to have something to start with, but if you have the proper partnerships that you've proven yourself, they'll give you the money, especially when you show them that you're gonna get all the money back.
So you can partner, you can raise the capital. If you don't have the money sitting in your account, you can get the money.
Are you at all concerned about being over leveraged with the?
No, so I always, even when I was flipping out here, my thing was always, if I can't sell it, can I rent it out and it covers my negative? And that's my mentality always. So out there, it's way easier to cover my debt than it is out here. And then I also build the little safety things of like the cushion. I always create the construction inside my loan. So like when I tell my lender, it's gonna run me 30, I tell them like 60 or 50. So I get that cash flow into my construction basically up front. So that's what initially I hear when I was flipping, that was the tightest thing was that you're dumping all this money, you're not gonna get it out until 6 to 9 months. And I'm like, well, like for me, I control my construction because I know construction, I know crews. So, after being all that money out of pocket is waiting all that time. And then I started doing, I'm getting it done cheaper. So I'm gonna tell my lender it's gonna cost me whatnot. And then that'll allow it to create the cash flow. So then I just take that mentality now and I do it to my properties out there. So there's some right now that I bought for 45, you know, and then I already know the comps in there should be around 200. So they're either gonna give me a loan of like max, whatever, 75% of the 200. I think like 65 or 75. But so for me, if I'm buying 45, I'm like, it's gonna take me 45 to fix it, but I told them 85. You know, and I just make my draws. And I just make it heavy up in the front with the renovation. So like I know electrical and plumbing and HVAC and roofing are the most expensive for me. But then once those items are done, I get reimbursed basically my down payment and all the money that I've been putting into it already. It's just created a nice system.
So on a whole, you buy on what it produces on a monthly basis, right? You don't buy on speculation of appreciation. You get fit if you do that.
What's your total passive income right now on a monthly basis from 300 units?
A lot of them are vacates because I buy them to build my funnel. Well, right now it's like 45,000 for what it is, and that's only like probably a third of what's completed. So for me, I buy with enough margin that I can sit on the properties and wait for my guys to start it because, you know, I don't want to pass up on opportunities. So for me, I keep my guys busy. So there's, you know, I got 40 going
When
on.
you're
right
using
now.
your financing money to keep that trade.
I'll make some, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you're like, since you're doing so much out there, you're licensed there, then you get your real estate license, or do you partner with somebody who, an agent?
No, I built different relationships with different agents. So like, you know, there's some that just bring me different deals. I mean, we partner for my large multifamilies. I have one that I've used for like, I have bought a church from my GC. It was congregation. His congregation was going to a school, so I like wanted me to buy him a church. So I bought him a church, and he paid me, cost me 85 grand. He pays me $3 grand a month. So you know, kind of stuff like that. I'll build relationships too. That's one of the biggest things. Is like, you know, we have a good relationship with my GCs, with my agents, with everyone. So, but I have multiple agents out there that bring me deal that whoever answers me first, I was like, put an offer on this property. I had 3 right now. Yeah. And then I have my cousin that's out there kind of overseeing them and doing more like the day-to-day kind of.
All right. Let's move, Sam.
Oh, shit, I gotta follow that.
I don't even remember the fucking question.
What's your investment
I'm over here
strategy?
taking notes.
So, like, we're in a lot of them, and, I mean, we're in the flips here in the valley. Like he said, we do a lot of like the Burr Method, like you basically get to flip it for free. I mean, he even pulled money out at like a 3%, 4%.
Are you flipping it or are you holding?
Well, this one, we're flipping it, or we do the Burrs and we hold them also, like, you need to figure out what your goal is and what you want to do. Like, do you want to be in the flip industry? Then you need to probably learn a little bit of construction management, so that you can manage it. That's what he talked about there, is that he knows it, he was comfortable with it. Like, just because you think that you're like an interior designer, that's not a good reason to get into a flip, right? Like, that's only a small portion of it. You need to know like what your market is. Like, we can make any house look like Chip and Joanna Gaines did, but if the market's not there, if the budget's not there, you don't do it. And what Jesse said earlier is the more you do, like, more opportunity begets opportunity. That's 100% accurate. People will throw you a deal, like Matt said about Sean. Oh, it's a good deal. Not all deals are good deals. Like, don't be afraid to say no on a deal. That's 100%. You don't work for free. You don't want to work for free, but you need to know your goal. Do you want cash flow, or do you want like hold investments, long-term investments? We do both of them. There's nothing wrong with doing both of them. The multi-door unit that we talked about, like, get into a cap rate. You guys should research cap rate. Go on Google and it'll teach you what a cap rate is. Like, learn what your cap rate is and what you want. Multi-door is a great opportunity to get like monthly cash flow if the cap rate is right. Yeah, so I mean, we're doing what we do.
Okay. So what determines whether you hold it or you flip it? Because flips create cash flow, holds create wealth.
Flips create cash flow, and like, so when we flip a property, like we always look at like the cap rate, because you can do a cap rate pretty quick and decide if it's good or not. Like, a decent rate is like 4 to 6%. But honestly, like, because I can make money in other ventures, I cap rate just a little bit higher. I'd like to see like 7-8% for me to dive into that. So like flips, if I can't safely net like 30,000 on a flip, I won't do it, because there's the AC, the plumbing, the electrical, the roof. Those are all things that you can't really see and you don't know how bad they are. But those are the big money items that will drain your flip like that. So if you can't make 30 grand and be able to put a new AC and a new roof on there, the chances are if you bought it too tight, you're gonna have a bad roof and a bad AC. It's Murphy's Law guaranteed. But if you have more money in there, you budget for a new AC and a new roof. Something going wrong, you can always safely put on a new AC and a new roof and still make your profit.
That's good.
Right.
Anybody know Jimmy and Linda McKissick? There's that name? Okay, so Jimmy was talking one time, got really comfortable. They have a portfolio of over 100. Yeah, this was like 20 years ago. They got really comfortable buying from the auction site at sea. So they would just drive, you know, or have somebody drive it and not walk the property. And they bought a house, wound up finally getting access to it, closed on it, bought it, walked in, and the whole back wall was gone. So don't skip your process, is my point, because it will cost you, right? All right, so you bought a, don't you have a resort in,
Yeah, we bought a resort in Minnesota, so we have, and one of the questions is a passive income one. We'll get into that later, but my passive income goal was a certain amount, and in order to get that, I would need like 35 investment properties. So we bought a resort that had 14 cabins on it. So now we are on like a huge jump to our passive income goal. We had a great opportunity for Ben Matson to buy the resort. It was a great resort, pulled in great cash flow, and it had a fantastic cap rate. So you double ended on that.
and where's that at?
It's in Minnesota.
Minnesota, okay. All right. ROI is no state lines.
Yep. But run it like a business.
Or countries.
Run it like a business. Like, don't get emotionally attached to it. If you're gonna get investments, don't go, oh, this guy doesn't mow my lawn. Who gives a shit? Like, make your money and run it as a business. Don't get emotionally tied into that property.
Well, that's the nice thing about investments and working with investors, is there is no emotion. It's just numbers. Either it mathematically works or it doesn't. Yes or no? Next. Next.
Next, we own 0 houses. No. So, I think strategy. What do you want to do? Just like Sam was saying, we flip and we wholesale right now. That's what we do. We have a goal to buy 12 to 15 buying homes this year, and that's what we'll do. We'll hit those goals, no problem, how many houses we look at. But our goal is to generate capital. That capital will be put into multiple doors. I'm not a huge fan of residential investing. It's not, I've had 3 or 4 rentals at one time. It didn't excite me, don't enjoy it. It's not a place that I will be. We will be in multifamily when we start buying. Just like you said, 10, 15, 20, 24, 35 units will be what we attack. So, currently all we do is flip, wholesale, sub 2. We will buy hold.
What is sub 2? You said that twice.
So it's subject to, so it's buying a property and keeping the loan in place that the owner continues to carry the debt service. Normally we give them some money to exit, whether it be they get them out of foreclosure or to leave the property, keep the debt service on it. We can immediately renovate, rehab that house, create positive cash flow. So,
And then
hold it, sell it, hold it most of the time, because you will do like a rent to own on it, where someone that doesn't have the credit, they still have 10% down, they put down 10%, they buy the house, we give them a 5-year term to potentially buy the house in the next 5 years.
okay.
And
Follow-up question, what determines whether you wholesale it or flip it?
highest and best use.
I
50. Our math is 50%. If I can make 50% more money flipping it, I'll do it. If I can't, then I wholesale it.
Okay,
So-
so what is wholesale for those that don't know?
It's where you just sell paper. So what is talk all slang and shit. It's where we have a purchase contract on a property. The purchase contract says that we have equitable right to sell this house. We will sell that purchase contract to another investor who wants to actually flip the house. Spreads anywhere from 1,000 to, I think our biggest deal this year was 75 grand on one track.
So basically assigning your position.
Assigning
Okay. And,
using an assignment contract.
okay. And, we have a question right here.
On your sub 2 deals, do you ever run into due on sale?
Yeah. So then we have, So
What was the question?
we're not, I don't want to act like I'm an expert and stuff too. We're toeing the water. I don't want to sit here and act like we're bigger than we are.
Well, you throw it around. like
Yeah.
so-
Yeah. Well, now it's that, but hoorah, we are, you know,
Whatever the expert are.
yeah. You know, we bought the training course. You know, we're not pace. We just figure out highest and best use, what can we do? If we can really buy and hold it, our is 20-25% to refi out. We got one that we're being pretty creative where someone really close to us is buying a house with 5% down. So we're gonna end up cashing out 100% plus get some of our rehab back. They'll own the property with us as an investment. So we've looked at doing some stuff like that, but I don't know if that's loan fraud or not.
Well.
Why, cut that.
So, here's something you need to pick up on though. Do you have to know everything to get started?
No.
No, get started and then figure it out as loan fraud. I guess. Don't do that. You get custom jewelry.
But I think it's, you know, I think what's important is you actually have a strategy. Like, I'm not against buy and hold. You know, I like it. I think it's great. We're just not at a place we want to do that. We want to go generate millions of bucks, and I'm not going to do that buy and hold it. So we want to flip as many as we possibly can, take that money into bigger stuff. So I just think your strategy is what's most important.
When are you gonna do that bigger stuff? What's your timeline?
Next 12 to 14 months, I would say. Yeah. I would like to have our first.
So you're generating
multi-
capital to leverage yourself into buying homes.
We're generating capital for me to do an addition on my house.
You're a consumer.
I am right now, yeah. I like nice shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, sir.
I'm like the worst investor up here. I want to have food on a Friday night.
A question for all of you. This time of labor shortage and hard to get construction workers, where do you recommend for GCs?
You know, that is a great question. We have just launched Impact Construction, and we would love to take care of all your GC needs. And we are doing a cost plus 20%. If you guys want to flip a house, we want to flip it with you. We will run your jobs.
Nice.
Well, there you go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Matt, so how do you identify these properties?
Say that again?
Like, how are you identifying these properties?
We
Wholesaling?
comp the shit out of the house.
So what are you doing? Are you just cold calling? Are you
Oh, great question.
door knocking?
You want to know where we get all our business from?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay, 82% came from realtor partners just like yourself. 18% come from these guys banging their head against the wall, direct to seller. So, you know, 18% comes from direct to seller.
So
The
you
rest
have
of
a
them,
criteria that you're targeting.
no. Under $1 million. I don't do anything over $1 million.
You don't have equity positions or.
You're like lists and all that. Like, what are we doing? Sure. Like, we know. Yeah. We know that a lady that lives in a house 1980 or older that is over the age of 55 and single with a house that's in a 60% equity position, there's an opportunity. Like, there's no guarantee, but we know from doing enough in the demographic that there's an opportunity.
Why is that an opportunity?
Because we've done enough deals with ladies that are in their 55s.
What do they not want to do anymore?
Well, they don't want the headache, right? They're either downsizing or they're moving somewhere else, or they're different life opportunities, you know.
So you're proactive in reaching out to
Yeah.
those people that are probably at a tipping point in their life and
Yeah.
want to do something different.
So 50% equity or higher, we look at probates, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, you know, divorce lists. We've banged our head against so many direct to seller lists. Our best thing is sitting in rooms just like these saying, hey, we want to partners with you guys. Last year, we gave over $500,000 in commissions, and we split wholesale deals. Like, if you bring us a deal, let's say it's a $50,000 deal, I give you 25 grand, we take 25 grand. I just did one. Where's Danny? Danny cracked one for 70. He made 35,000 bucks. We made 35,000 bucks. That was
That
2
boy
years
Danny.
ago.
Yeah.
So, like,
We're
that's-
going tonight.
yeah. So, you know, that's kind of how we've been, the real estate market as a whole has been really, really good for us. The direct to seller stuff, guys, it's not easy to figure out. I know guys that are spending 30 grand a month in direct mail. I know guys that are banging the phones with 20 ISAs in the Philippines. And they're all doing deals, but it's a legit system and they're just smashing and going. I don't know anybody Anybody that's in the wholesale space, I don't know anybody that cost of acquisition isn't somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000. Direct to seller, direct to seller. I know plenty of guys that are at zero cost of acquisition that are getting their deals from real estate agents. I know a lot of guys doing that. But I don't know anybody that's direct to seller that their cost of acquisition isn't somewhere between.
So
5
cost
and
of
7.
acquisition is 5 to 7. What is the assignment fee?
Our average assignment. 15. Yeah, our average assignment's 15. That's pretty typical in the
All right,
space.
so you're profiting at 7 to 8K. All right. Great.
We have a couple of questions from the Zoom chat. What about agents in the office who want to start investing? Do any of these people on the panel want to partner with them? How do people get started on their very first one?
I will do flips with anybody if you got money. If you're willing to, like, so we've talked about running a model where whatever money you put into the deal, we'll split that portion of profit. You bring 50, I'll split it with you 50-50. You bring in 25, I'll give you 25%. So we're open to absolutely anything with anybody that is in our world.
Awesome.
Hold on, who else?
I think if you want to grow, expand, live a life by design, I want to talk to you. I think there's opportunity for anybody, even if you don't have money, even if you don't know what it's all about. I want to have a chat with you. I think
If you've got a deal and need capital, come talk to us.
Yeah.
Yes,
Talk to
we
Metric
want that
first.
deal.
I said talk to Metric.
We've got a couple more really quick. This one's pointed to Matt specifically. Can you explain how the wholesale process works? What should agents be looking for in properties to bring them to you? And if they're prospecting for you, what does that look like?
I mean, any house that we can buy at 70 cents of ARV, like that's gonna be a wholesale deal all day long. Any property anywhere. We've done stuff in Fountain Hills, we've done stuff in Santan Valley, we've done trailers. We've done stuff for trailers, so. So if you're at a 70% ARV, we're probably gonna make 15 grand on that if we wholesale it. So anything like that, as far as, if that person wants to have a conversation, I'd love to actually dive deeper into what they're looking to do. I'd be happy to give anybody any data that they want. If you guys want phone numbers, I'll get it all day for you. If you guys want a dialer, we'll hook it up. Like, we'll find a way if you guys really want to prospect and do something that we help partner.
if you want to make money as a personal flipper, you don't go with a wholesaler. These guys take all the profit.
That's not true.
Come on.
There's a lot of percent. This is where it happens. Come on, find a good wholesaler.
Find it on your own.
Find
On your own.
Find a good wholesaler on your own.
So
That 15 grand you could have pocketed.
yeah, Mindy came to me one day and that's who's gonna moderate with me today. And their little guy's sick, but one of their biggest things was we closed over 3,500 deals, 3,700 deals last year in this office alone, over 1.5 billion. So how many opportunities is this office seeing as a market center together? And you have the ability to take down property and then acquire them with the buying power right here before we go anywhere else, quite honestly. I believe we could absorb pretty much anything you can bring.
And to
As a
be,
collective
what Sam just said is, no, I mean, I want you to, we didn't buy from wholesalers. We are the wholesaler.
Yeah.
So we found the deals. We bought 4 units from a wholesaler last year. That's it. Right? So 100%, you want to be closer to the deal. You're not going to buy a deal from a wholesaler because they take all the money.
That's what.
But
That's what.
To
if we're the wholesaler and we make all the money, are you going to be that mad at it?
So, but it could be a wholesale.
It could be old.
Great.
And then we have one more. This one's pointed to Sam. Can you explain cap rate to us in layman's terms?
So cap rate real quick, you take your net income, like what your actual profit is over the year and divide it by the purchase price. You can do this for an investment property, you can do it for a business, you can do it for whatever. So it's your net income, your profit divided by what you paid for it, gives you a percentage. You want to be between 4 and 6, but again, it's what you want to do, what your portfolio is. I don't want to do something less than like 7.
So specifically, a cap rate is going to have a debt service attached to it. So that the cap rate is after all expenses, including debt service.
Because at the end of the day, like if I want to hold something, then I got to pull my cash and I have to use that, and then it's got to sit there. So it has to be worth my cash because cash is king. I could buy some cash that would make more than 7% cap rate. That's why my cap rate is like a 7-8%.
Are you getting 7-8 in Arizona?
Yeah. There are still some deals out
On
there,
stuff you've acquired in the last 12 months?
if you can find it yourself. If you can find it yourself, you can get 7-8%.
Ty, did you have one more? Ty?
Just a quick one then, based on this whole conversation and the senator, Matt, who are you assigning to? Are they flippers or people less savvy?
I'll give you everything in my life. I'll give you 100% of my secrets. I will not give you my buyer's list.
No, I just mean, in general, is it flippers? Is it?
Yeah, it's everybody that wants to flip.
Okay.
Yeah. And I bring them in close first. Like I'll send these guys deals. Like I try to take care of anybody that's in our world. So if you wanted to flip, I'd happy to send them your way. Yeah, I've sent Sam and Heather deals. We've partnered on deals.
Well, I just walked in and they were signing paperwork on two that you guys did together, or?
No, we have one right now together they did a phenomenal. If you ever need construction, like no joke, Sam is by far one of the best people ever.
Is he heading up back construction?
No, I wish. I wish. I can't afford. Sam don't want to do none. The house looks amazing. They did a phenomenal job with the house. And just like we could break that deal down for you. We found the deal. Deal was way over my head construction wise. I didn't know enough about it. I went to Sam and Heather. I said, hey, I got a deal. Do you guys want to buy it? They said, no, we hate the number at it. And I said, what if there's no holding costs? And they said, okay, we like the number a lot more. So I said, you bring the money for the rehab. You run the rehab. You do the rehab. You do 100% of that. We'll hold paper on it. So we held, so it's all private money. We got like 440 grand wrapped up in this deal. We're holding it. They did 100% of the work. We're splitting that deal 50-50.
What's the take on it?
I think we're both.
We're about 65 in the rehab, so we're just over 500. We'll sell for 650. So we're gonna split about 140.
Good deal.
Okay, so, now.
How long that take?
Yes!
On average,
Yes, Todd! Yes!
on average, we try to do about 45 days. This one took a few months, but.
There's no holding cost on it. Sam is busy.
So my guys went other places.
Sam traveled. 5 months.
Okay, so,
Hey, but we got appreciation. It worked out this time.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you, Sam. Heather. Because
Okay.
she can sell houses.
now, when you, as agent investors, do you treat your sales business and charge the full commission and treat your investor business?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. No. You should.
Yeah.
I believe you should, yeah.
We didn't on this one.
It's not a viable business otherwise, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why if you're running P&Ls on that, cost of sales. Ty?
Yeah. Well, we do both, as a team. Personally, I'm more in a buy and hold plan. If I choose to stop working at some point, or I want to choose what my future will be. And so for me, that path is buy and hold. And so unless it doesn't make sense or I can make more. So when I started buying in Missouri, so I've got a house over in Chandler that I'm probably going to go ahead and sell at the end of this lease term because I can pull that money out without capital gains. It was my bachelor pad. And so I'm like, well, I can turn that into probably 3 more in a different market. So that would be one example of one that I'm not necessarily going to keep long-term, only because it's a tax play. And I can actually probably double, maybe even triple the amount of cash flow using that equity by buying multiple properties with that. So I'm going to avoid capital gains and triple the cash flow I've got on that property.
So on a flip, what do you trigger? Every time you visit your money, what do you trigger?
Taxes.
A tax event. So that's brilliant.
It's something you got to think about because of how can you maneuver the money, and like you can do a 1031 now, but who knows if the administration is going to keep that. There's a strong chance that may be going away. So like we're starting to see people move their money around a little bit now while the tax laws still favor investment and reinvesting that money. So we work a lot with the idea of how can we minimize the tax liability on the moves as well.
Smart. Okay.
What's where you're gonna put your money? What market are you taking your money to?
I just started going to Missouri, kind of. Yeah, it's interesting. Just because the values are about half of what they are here, maybe a little less than half. Yet the rent prices tend to be higher. So on the amount of money I put in, I'm getting about a 10% net return on that money for each property, and they're all cash. Obviously that's cash flow. So the idea is they're smaller mortgages, so I can pay them down quicker to the point where I wouldn't necessarily have debt service, in 8 years or 10 years, however long it takes to pay each one off. And then that's just what my retirement number, like my number to be able to retire if I want. I only need about probably 8 to 12 of those, and I'll be good.
So just here in Missouri, because then you've got. different-
Well, I got Arizona and Missouri currently.
That makes kind of a- right?
Yeah. Say again.
Different states and different taxes, it kind of makes the tax.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would just think like, well, 2 types of taxes. So, income tax won't matter, right? We're in what market, but the state tax, so I won't buy in Texas. I'm from Texas, born and raised, I love it, but the property taxes are ridiculous. Illinois, ridiculous. So one of the things I like about a state like Missouri, for example, is their tax rate, property tax rate is pretty similar to Arizona. I mean, super low compared to some other states. So like when you look at a ROI in a Texas property, they don't have state income tax. They just ream you on property taxes. Well, to me, that skews the numbers. So as much as I'd love to have an Austin house I go to, many times a year, the numbers for me don't really work out. So I'm in part of choosing the market is what's the job strength there? What's the job attraction? What's the rental market like? And what are taxes like? And what is it going to cost me to get things repaired? Like we have hub contracting, hub home services. So we run all of our flip stuff on the team. And the way that works is that if we find a deal, we go to a listing appointment and that person says, I don't want to put it on the market, then we'll typically go get an open door offer pad offer, or if we think it's a better deal, we'll make them an offer on it as well. And then we would have it bid out by our own general contracting company and decide if we're going to make an offer on that or present all 3. We would say, here's option A, B, and C. Option A is me, here's no commission. So that price is going to be lower, but your net will be very similar. Here's options B and C, and then we allow the client to make a decision based on what their options are, and we'll throw ourselves into that mix as well, with an addendum that we will sell it for a loss or a gain, essentially. So that's one way we're doing.
So how did you find Missouri? Like, were you actually out in Missouri or just networking with other agents? Like, how are you finding your houses?
Well, I had been up there. I grew up in Texas, so we would go vacation. There's a town called Branson, which has all these music theaters and entertainment stuff. And so we literally just take road trip vacations. So I've been up there. I had a buddy who played college basketball at one of the. There's like 4 universities in Springfield, Missouri, and there was like 5 colleges. So I'm like, well, that's a lot of renters. Not that I want to rent necessarily college kids, but there's a big rental pool, and they got some employers. So, but the way I started getting serious about it was that my maps coach said, hey, I'm coaching other people around the country and they're getting better returns. You should consider this. And then I had some friends. I got a guy in Gan Holt, who's he's the top, well, he's actually number 2 killer agent in that market. And so I had known him. I reached out. I put a team together with a home inspector, title company. Also, you talked about earlier, I would always suggest can you get a relationship with a small bank, like a private bank or like a SNL or a credit union or whatever you can find. One of the things I did when I went out there was that I went and met with a banker and I said, here's all my tax returns, here's my stuff. She's like, you're approved, let's go. And they do non-QM stuff. So like if it's a vacation rental, for example, it's never going to get Fannie or Freddie financing, but the bank will do it. They do it on a 5-1 arm. So you'll pay a 5-year fix. It'll go adjustable. You can pay the mortgage off in 5 years, sell it or refinance it. But they'll do mom and pop type stuff because they're not worried about selling the paper. They're going to service it. So they can give you terms, especially as you get further into it, where, okay, you only need, 10% or 15% down, no mortgage, insurance, investment property on a 5-1. So I would also suggest if you go even here, and definitely in other markets, if you can get in with a small bank or like a regional or local bank, they make their own rules. They're not worried about, overlays and all that stuff. You got to deal with institutional lenders. So that was a big play as well, because now I've got a relationship and they just say, they don't even need it. They need like $500 deposit over there. You don't need a pre-qual to make it off. But literally it's like Wild West, man. And so the banker just says, hey, no problem. Whenever you want a letter, let me know. And I'll send it over to your agent. So now I've got a team there that can help all my lending. construction, handyman, all that kind of stuff is all a team. And then I started referring my clients there. So now I'm getting referral fees from that real estate team because some of my own friends are just doing what I'm doing already. So I figured, what if I was just a trailblazer and I went and did it? And if it works, I'll tell other people about it and then they'll do it. And that's what's happening now. So I figured out a way to put the team together. So I'll keep buying there, but now I'm also sharing that message with people that I know and love. And they're now just starting, the first one's closing out next week. And so that'll be a decent little referral fee. My friends are gonna be happy. I'm, hooked them up with all their whole team there. And so they're able to start investing, with somebody to help guide them.
Greg, another question.
Yeah, we have another question from the Zoom chat. For Ty, the Kenny Klaus team has an option where you buy the client's property so that they can make a non-contingent offer of a new one. Can you talk about this a little bit and if it's open to anyone in the office to leverage?
Yeah, for sure. So we do that in a few different ways. So anybody has access to a cashback offering. Keller Williams, that's through something called Homeward. Homeward is a lender that also has cash. They'll buy the property that your client picks out. Then your client buys it from them with a mortgage from them. So that would be one way to remove a contingency. If they have a house to sell, there's a fee involved with it, which equates to about 1.4%. And has a right to use that money to pay cash for the next house. That's one way we do it. We also facilitate what's called buy with open door, or BWOD, which is open doors cash back offer. So we make a cash offer on behalf of the client who picks the house out. And then the same thing, the client buys it from open door in that scenario. What they may also be referring to as our options. So we may put those two options in place, but also say, here's our Klaus team cash offer. Kenny's got, plenty of money. So he'll fund whatever deals we find. And then basically it doesn't really matter what we put in whatever we can put in and then just split it 50-50. So they'll take out, and then we'll use our general contracting company to do all the rehab. So we that way we're not waiting because those jobs have priority for the GC.
That's some different time on your Chandler property. Why don't you take HELOC? That's your personal property. Just take HELOC probably 95%.
Well, it used to be, but I moved out about a year and a half ago. So
You should be able to get a pretty high LTV and then not sell that property that's appreciating like crazy right now.
Yeah, well, that's a good option for sure. The play, I guess, for me is because I've only got about another year or so to avoid capital gains on it, but the cash flow on that property is about half of what it would really about.
But you take the equity that you're gonna cash out with the HELOC and then go take it over a buy or two. So now you still have 4 properties instead of just selling it. And you avoid the taxation. So
that's another great option. Yeah, thanks for suggesting.
Yeah, I just like keeping assets. So
There's one common theme amongst investors for the beginning of time. I wish I would have never sold anything. Right? Hindsight. Okay. It'd be interesting. 3 to 5 years.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't hold something.
Like I was flipping in,
Okay, so did somebody raise it? Here we go.
So if we're at a listing appointment and we, there's a scenario where the seller doesn't want to go to market, maybe the house needs work, and we see that there's meat on the bone. We don't necessarily have all the cash. What's the process look like to come to one of you guys, and what would be like the split on it?
40-0.
You have a buyer.
Anybody that wants to do a deal.
So Chad's gonna be around afterwards for a little bit. So any questions like that you want to talk to him about?
Sorry.
They'll be there for that. Okay. Yes.
For the properties that you're holding, what financing terms do you generally get? And do you periodically, when the equity goes up, pull out cash to do other properties?
So right now they're at 75%. I have ICG 10 out of Miami. They've been my go-to for a lot of these long-term rentals, and there's a 30-year fixed. They're ranged from 4.5 to like 6.5, and then they're doing once I'm 6.5, they're doing 1 point versus 2. But it all depends what you want. For me, I'm used to getting 18 back in the day, so for me 6 is cheap. So. What's that?
That's not bad.
Yeah, no, and they're all cash one. My ultimate thing is
hard money.
Yeah.
Okay. What is hard money costing right
You get 100% money for 18%. You can get 10%, 20% down money for 10%, 9%.
Yeah, so I got a bridge right now, 8%, one point. You know, they're doing 90% of acquisition, 100% of rehab. Ultimately, they're gonna wanna be at 65% to 75% of the ARV. So that's the number you have to consider, like, you know, they might tell you, and we're gonna be 100% of financing, but they might be 100% financing at 50% of ARV, you know, so it's like, numbers won't work, so.
Yeah, I just start, I mean, I just made it to accelerate the next purchase because of rates right now. So I'm thinking, well, if I waited 6 months, I ain't paying another 0.5% on institutional money. So I started thinking, okay, well, instead of what I might want to do with the next 6 months, probably should be accelerated the next 30 to 45 days, because if rates keep going up, then the return keeps going down. So it's almost like a race right now for long-term money before it starts eating too much in profit.
Is that local or are you going outside again?
That's what institutionalized lending.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Based on the prime, a lot of these privates, they don't base it on the federal prime number, you know, it's gonna go up. They're comfortable at the 6.5, 4.5. You know, they're not doing it.
But I'm getting money at 3 5/8, 3.5, that kind of stuff. So now that's at 4 1/4 or 4 3/8 now, which will probably push to 5% on investment money, you know, for a regular reserve bank. So it's a consideration just because of the cost of it.
Pass on the math. You can do 6%. If the cash flows, you're good, right? Is 6% a high interest rate, by the way?
Yeah.
No.
I would do whatever it took to get into the house and as many houses as you can, take advantage of the low interest rate, especially if you have time. So like we do ours on 30-year notes, let the market appreciate, let our tenants pay it down. And then with interest rates at like 3.5%, you pull out all the freaking money you can, you go buy even more. And then you let it do that again, you pull out all the money you can, and you do it again. And you're multiplying your investments and you hold it long term.
Yeah, I was flipping here in 2011, 12 in the auctions. I see when like Australia and Canada, they all China came and bought hedge funds. So a lot of the flippers couldn't compete down there because they're just buying a 7 cap. They were getting 20 cap. You know, at the end of the day, and it held for 4 years, they quadrupled their money. And then I bought some of those and then I did large additions, took the equity out. And then, you know, then like 5 years later, I sold it for like triple. So my thing is like I was flipping in Garfield and Garfield and Coronado before it started popping. I got saturated, and I just wish I held some. You know, I bought one for 65 and it sold it for like 185, which is great. But now they're like 400. So that's the thing now at KC. I see the trend of why population is going there. A lot of central corporate hubs are moving there because they're central in the country. So there's a lot of growth happening there. So I'm just holding everything. The same growth that I missed out here is going to happen there. So I learned from my mistakes.
It's a good point though, to like follow where the job growth is, right? Because some people, but if you're like people like companies who come from California, Arizona, right? And there's tons of tax benefits of doing that now, but also because your employees that they come with you are already getting a raise based on the lower cost of living. You pay them the same amount of money when it costs less to live in that area. So that's what we're seeing a lot in some of the Midwest states is where they're attracting business and then those same salaries go a lot further based on cost of living in those areas.
Follow jobs and follow Super Bowl winners.
Well, what I love about this is you know, you hear a lot, a common dialogue in our market is there's no margin. We missed it. We missed the opportunity. Well, maybe locally, but it exists, right? And it always will. There's a good deal in every market, no matter what the market is. Buyer's market, seller's market, and so on. Greg?
We have more Zoom chat questions. You guys are super popular today. How do we find the listings either for the market or for you guys on the panel? I heard door knocking, phone calling. How else would you recommend?
We tell our agents every time you go on a listing, you try to buy it first. You go on a listing and say, hey, can I buy this or can somebody on my team buy this? If not, then I'll take it.
You do nothing different than trying to get retail business.
I
Like
really want a license for it.
we teach all of our agents that go do retail real estate, you're gonna find the deals. Just go do retail real estate at a high level. I promise you, you're gonna run into the deals.
No matter what you do, you just have to do it. Like sitting here talking about it, if you just sit here and don't do anything, I guarantee you won't get it.
Every piece of property you look at, whether you're going on a listing appointment or you're showing it or you're driving by it, the question you should be asking is, should I be buying that or should somebody in my network be buying that?
Driving for dollars has been good for us too.
So I know you got rid of your license to be able to buy, but for the licensed agents, is there anything you guys are doing to protect yourself from, hey, you know, Open Door will do higher, you know, the market will do higher, or anything like that? When you want to buy a good deal, obviously, you know, it's a deal, which means the market would probably do as good or better. So what are you guys doing to protect yourself on that acquisition? Like you talked about, Sam.
We Foursquare all of our clients, so we Foursquare anybody that goes into it. We show them the 4 different ways to sell real estate. We give them all their options, option-based selling, and then we let them make a decision. What I find with most 99% of the agents is you feel that you guys have to be right. And just because they left money on the table and you know you can get them more in the market, you feel like you got to smash them in the face of getting more money on the market. The truth is the money isn't everything for a lot of clients. It's simplicity is how do we get through it? How fast can it be? What can I leave? What don't want to, you know, there's so many different ways. If you can solve a problem, you don't have to go to the market. But what I do say is make sure you show them their options and let them make the decision. I would never pigeonhole anybody into a certain way of doing business because then you could be opening yourself up for litigation. And also disclose you're an agent. I disclose that we're going to sell the house for a profit. I disclose what we're going to do. I show when we run numbers, I show people my profit margin. There's a lot of times people know I'm making 10%. I'm going to make $45,000 on your house, and here's why. If they agree, they sign, we move on.
Even out of that you documented the conversations in our written agreements, that way you have proof that you said and explained and disclosed those things.
Well, I think big time. So listen, if you're not using a CRM, you're missing the game. You have to have a CRM that's tracking, that's doing it, that your conversations in there. I text, I call, I email, everything goes through a CRM. If you guys don't have a powerful CRM, I would recommend highly getting one. I don't care if you're a first year or 50 year. I would have something that all my stuff is in. So when you do get sued, because you will if you do enough transactions, you have all the stuff.
We have an investor addendum, which says that we're going to sell them for a profit or a loss. And that's with regardless, we do put them, we give them the option. So say like every, you know, here's your 2 or 3, so they can see in writing, we have to sign it. And then regardless of if they choose any of those, there's still an investor addendum with it.
So your fiduciary as an agent is to share the options on that they choose.
Okay.
Doesn't eliminate you as an investor, providing you share the options and properly disclosed, right?
Here's what I would never, also another, a very high level thing that I would do, even as an agent, don't ever get married to your ARV or what you think that house will sell for. I feel like even just as a regular retail agent, you say this house is going to sell for this and you don't want to be wrong. I give ranges on everything. Your property could sell for X if we go on the market live, that we show them the math. And show them what it could be with ARV. You know, I show them if I rehab it, this is what I'm going to sell it for. I work the number back, show them the profit. But if I sell it to you today, or you sell it today on the market with commissions and fees, realistically, we're only 15 grand apart. Is that $15,000 worth going to the market, having the showings, doing the bids, or is it worth that? If it is, then let's go get the 15 grand. If it's not, then we write up the contract.
Now, and that's all based on what we know today, right?
Yeah.
We ask a lot of questions.
Who's ever lost money on a flip? Well, those of you that have not raising your hand and haven't done it long enough for.
I lost money first time this year.
Okay, so do markets change? We've been in the high tide market for how many years now? So we've been made to look really smart. And I'm pointing this out because there will be times when there could be a loss on the property. So I like what Ty said, we're selling it for a profit or a loss because either one can happen. You guys remember 911? Right? What happened in the market right after 911? I was building a house. Is it Cragen in here? Is Amanda Cragen in here? We're building the house at Orchard Ranch. It's nice to be under construction at that point in time.
Yeah.
On a project. The market shift. It took a deep breath for several months and then it came back. My point is if you're in these conversations, yeah, it's a profit or a loss. Bottom line is we're going to assume the risk, or one of my investors is. And if that is the best path for you to eliminate risk and take what you know you can get right now, then that's a good option, right? Right.
From chat, if we have rental properties that have at least 100,000 in equity, does it make more sense to do a cash out refi on them or a home equity line of credit to get money to do it again?
It all depends if it's a personal and it allows you to have the highest LTV possible. Because if it's an investment, they're going to give you 8%. So if it's a 500,000, house and 8%, you got 100 in equity, you're not gonna be able to take out anything. So if you have 300 and they're gonna give you 400, then you take 100. And if you can do enough of what you want with that 100, then it's enough. That's the only time with him as a person, he might be able to get 95%. So just take that equity and go in and buy your other assets. But if you're already capped out at 80% and now selling it is what's going to allow you to get that remaining 100, then you sell it and avoid the capital gains. But well, as investment property, so you're not going to get away from the capital gains.
One quick question for Henry. Did you run into it all with renters not paying when we went through the victim mentality of renters that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I was in the
That's okay.
I was in the beginning of buying there, so I was putting in new people, so they were responsible.
Okay.
But as the more happened, there has been some, but in the Midwest, they kind of enable you to become irresponsible. They have a lot of programs that subsidize. Like, there's some of them like, hey, don't pay your rent for 2 months, because they're gonna come in here and pay for it for 4 months. It's like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay. Section 8 at all? Do you do?
Section 8, Truman Medical Center has a program. Carrie, Mary is another one they're doing for people that haven't been able to pay their rent. They'll pay, you're back 2 months, they'll pay it 4 months. So I have like 4 different programs right now that we go to.
Okay.
But
So
have
you were
you been
fine.
hit?
What's that?
Have you been hit by not getting your rent?
I mean, it's happened, but it doesn't affect me.
It's not putting them under.
Yeah.
Well, as a whole, you have a vacancy rent factor, right?
Yeah, and we get them out fairly quickly, but what's nice is with the system and cushion is that I'm taking out money when I'm, refinancing it. So I'm getting capital gains that aren't taxed with the refinance. I'm getting cash flow throughout the time. And there's with the programs, we're able to backtrack and get money back. So it works out, yeah.
If you're like a small time like old guy, I would put every house like in its own LLC, treat it like a business, have a savings account for that house. So that say like $10,000 will replace an AC, it'll replace your roof, it'll hold you over for a couple months to pay if your people don't pay. So like if you're a small time guy, put them all in LLCs, treat each of them like a business so that if they don't pay or if something does go wrong, it doesn't pull from your personal funds, just pay the AC out of your savings account that you have set up for that business.
The other thing is like if it's gonna go south, I have enough equity in it already that I can just sell it. So that's like the last option for me is I'll sell it. And in the Midwest, you run into a lot of fires. So I've had like 5 fires now. Yeah. One of the houses I bought like was like a trap house. It was like I show up and the neighbor's like, "You see all the holes there? Those are gunshot holes." I was like, all right, whatever.
They didn't pay their bills, no.
Number makes sense. So like they're like, "What you paying for it?" I was like, "I think I bought it for 48." He's like, "Man, you should bought it for 30." I was like, "Yeah, that's what it is." But I set the comp there for about like 160. So you're welcome.
I have a question for Henry. So since you're managing this big portfolio, do you outsource property management or do you have your own property
So
management?
initially I had one that was in place and they weren't doing a good job. I've had some of the tenants reach out to me personally. And then my uncle's a property manager out of Miami. So I got his wife to start running it all. So, and she just has to deal with my guys in KC. Anytime we have like a maintenance car or whatnot, but she puts it all into Buildum. I think it's Uphold or there's 2 main property management software, but we use Buildum right now to keep track of everything. And you can do different type of payment options online or going pay cash. Because a lot of people over there, they want to pay cash and to go to the properties, and it's inconvenient. So there's options with Buildum that you go to like 7-Eleven or a few other options that you take the cash and you just give them like some type of number and then they just deposit right into our account.
So I would resort to property management.
Being creative is find a solution. Like when you're an investor, problems are always going to be there. But having a solution for things is what's going to set you aside.
That sounds like life.
Problems, yeah, exactly.
So we managed our own properties since the beginning of time. And a couple of years ago, we turned it over to property management. 100% of our properties were under rented. I was wondering when they ever left. Never raised the rent. So I would definitely, and the cost is so minimal that it just makes no sense. And they're on it. They're on it. Well, a good property manager. Right? Was there somebody else that? Okay. So how do you protect the downside?
Buy it right.
Buy it right. How do you ensure that you're buying it right?
Know your numbers.
Know your numbers. How do you know your numbers?
15 houses a day. I mean, I'm in it, like, so I know construction, so I know rehab costs have done enough.
So do you have a price per square foot?
Yeah,
that
I
you
would do,
estimate?
if you guys wanted to use a round number, I'd say 45 bucks. 45 bucks a square will keep you out of trouble. Unless there's something totally wrong with the house that you didn't see, foundation, slab, structurally, something that you're on. 45 bucks a square foot will hit, you'll hit your numbers, no problem. Don't push. I don't buy off appreciation. A lot of investors right now are. I have a cake number that I buy off of, and I have a push number that I have to sell it for. I always buy off my cake number, knowing that I will sell it for this. It's a closed comp in the area, model match with what I do to it. It will be identical to that, so I know I'll get my money, but I might have another number that's 20, 30 grand higher than that. That's why we have to look at 15 properties a day.
Okay. Are you personally underwriting all of them?
Me, Jeremy, or Kyle right now. Sean does quite a bit. There's 3 or 4 of us that we trust those. Yeah.
Okay.
The goal this year is to have a full-time acquisitions manager that will be doing 100% of underwriting as we scale.
Okay. And is there a software you're running it through, or you just?
We have an Excel sheet that Kyle's created that we just pump in our numbers, what's buy price, what's rehab. We have a couple other profit share things for people that brought the deal. And then it just runs through the calculator and they'll say buy it or not buy it. Write it or not write it. We'll buy stuff sight unseen if it's definitely something that we feel comfortable with. But we only walk with stuff that I'm like, hey, I don't know. So we'll go walk it.
Okay. Anybody else have a different?
When I was flipping out here, I was always make sure again that I could figure out when my debt service would get covered by rent.
Yeah.
So for me, automatically, when I did my additions, and I was gonna do like, I'm gonna push the comp. I always push the comps out here. I just do large additions. And then Sunny Slope, I had built way too large of a house that I took the price per square foot. It'd be $350, but it appraised for it, but a buyer wasn't gonna be buying it in that area at that time. But for me, the rent would get covered by at $2,300 bucks, and I think my payment was at $2,000 after I already had pulled out all my cash because I've added value to it that they seen that okay, it's worth $330, $350, and they give me all my cash. So I was breaking even or break sometimes a couple $100, but I held long enough that the comps eventually sold it. I sold that like in COVID year, like 2 years ago. And got my money worth out of it. But
I think you know what he's saying is have to have your exit strategy, right? So I know I can wholesale for X, I know I can flip it for X. I know worst case scenario, if I got a whole property, I get 100% of my cash back. And I rent it for either a break even or I make $100 a month. And I can sustain that till I do get the appreciation that I need.
So investing by definition is not risky.
No, not at all.
If you understand and follow proven models and systems and resources, right?
I used to be super nervous to sign on the line. Like in the very beginning when with our first 1 or 2 and we were taking debt service out on it and stuff, I was a little nervous. In the very beginning, I started with other people's money where I had 0% of my own capital, but I had like really good friends' capital. So that actually made it worse for me. Where I was 100, I was using
You wanted to make sure.
yeah, I was using 100% money. What?
You still have those friends?
Yeah. He actually left. You're standing in the back of the room. I didn't name drop. Yeah, you know, so I originally went, when I first wanted to get into flipping, I had a meeting with Steve Valentine, which is an amazing dude if you guys don't know him. He only uses other people's money and he gave me his idea around it. So I just went and raised capital, found a couple $1 million in five phone calls and I started flipping with that, which was cool because it was 100% funding, 100% reno, and I profit share in the deal. So I had no holding costs. I profit share at 30%. I just kicked it back to him. Wasn't the most lucrative thing in the world for us, but it's blossomed into what we have now. But that's how I started. Because then I had 0 risk, but I was using someone else's money, which was nerve-wracking. Once I did about 5 or 6, then I got a little more guts, kept going, a little more guts, kept going.
So that's a deal provider
Yeah.
versus a cash. You got a cash provider, right? So you got a cash provider, Matt's providing the deals,
Yeah.
managing it, seeing it through to closing and split and 30%.
30% was going back in.
So when you hear people say, well, I don't want to pay 18% hard money, well, a lot of times you split it with somebody if you're partnering. That's 50% cost. It's a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more, right? So.
We just have like a buy box, you know, like what you're gonna buy and what your pricing is gonna be, how much you pay. I mean, you know, in different markets, like one of the things I found out about Missouri was I probably don't want basement homes there because they have more problems and more potential exposure to cost. But I do want an attached 2-car garage. It gets cold there and people want to have a garage, right? And they're mostly brick homes. They all have fireplaces. That's their number one source of heat. So there are certain things. I want a fireplace. I want a 3.2. I want at least 1,300 feet, 2-car attached garage. Like the things I know, and then also what areas. Well, you can be south of Sunrise in this particular market, right? So I know geographically where if you go north, you got all the colleges, which in a desperate measure, I would take that, but I would rather be with professionals or families, people who are more likely to take care of the property. So knowing like geographically, but also within the buy box of what, it needs, for me, it needs a cash flow, at least 10% cash on cash net after my property management fees and after repairs. And I know that price point in that market is not more than about $225 or 225,000. You can't have, most of them don't have HOAs, but there is like a condo where you can be under or over about $125 a month. So if you know that it fits, and then my agent there knows exactly what I'm looking for and just sends me those properties, and then we'll go video for me, and then I'll say, okay, yes or no. We're walking the backyard. Let's take a look at the water heater. What's the AC look like? What's the roof look like? What are all the big dollar signs that I would see as being problematic? And then can we get those negotiated? I got about 9,500 in repairs done most recently. So almost 10 grand, but I got a few thousand closing costs with the seller. So I walked into that one, in pretty good shape on the buy going in, and cash flowed enough to meet that criteria.
Okay. All right, so what's your average margin you're seeing right now? And are you readjusting it based on those that are investing here?
I'm seeing 10 to 15% of my flips.
Okay.
Sales all across the board, it's 100% profit. So I don't know how to say it. Average wholesale is 15 grand.
Okay. Anybody else?
Cash on cash, we're like 45%.
What cash on cash, you're 45%. Okay.
On like holds, we'll look at like the cap rate again. Like if it's good, we'll keep it. On flips, like basic, if I can't safely net like 30 grand, then I won't.
What's the percentage margin? It's just a number. That's what that works.
Yeah, mine.
What do you got?
Mine's unmeasurable, so it's kind of, I get all my money plus the same. But average as far as like what number amount, I'd get like 20 on the low side to like 60 per property. And now that I'm starting to go to we have a 10-plex. That one should be like 300 on a cash out, gonna be a great cash flow. And now that we have the 41 unit, ultimately the aim on that one is to be like $1 million plus refinance cash out. And those are the ones I'm gonna start focusing on, is the larger multifamily ones. We have some pretty large buildings in downtown KC. That's the Royals are gonna be relocating their stadium there. We're buying, so I'm owning the block right now, and so I'm just waiting for them to build and start developing what's on my empty lots there. And there's a art asylum that I bought. It's like 30,000 square foot building that's like art theater and work studios. So on those, we bought for 2.3, but we'll probably take like 500, and I mean the cash flow that's supposed to be like 100 grand a month after that. And kind of hard to tell what the values are going to be at, but properties are going to 7 mil or 10 mil, but once it's established.
So that's vacant land.
Well, I have vacant on top of that. So a lot of times out there, you tend to get an empty lot on the structure you're buying. So like I bought multiple houses that have an empty lot next to it, but on this building, I bought the building and it has a large enough lot that's for the parking, but then it came with another lot that's adjacent corner lot. So that one I'll be developing once it's all stabilized. And there's like condo, you got great views of the city there, so that's. I could show the views from the tower. It's like the one historical. I have like it's a bell tower at the building that I have, so it's like historical there. We're gonna do a bar rooftop up there. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So I call that getting in the way. Right? The Royals are coming. The growth is coming, and you grabbed up some dirt and a building. So I was like,
I've been worked out for me out there and out here because I was, got in front of Garfield storage, storage, and I got in front of Sunny Slope before they all got, too saturated and too high.
All right, so what's your number one opportunity going into 2022?
I'm having to stabilize and keep buying, so.
Stabilize and keep buying. Okay, so stabilize what you got under contract.
Yeah.
Close on
We have,
rehab.
yeah.
Okay. Keep buying. You have a buy goal? That you can get.
Yeah, that's that.
When do you say no?
On
Yeah,
things to
say
buy?
no.
Oh, yeah. I typically out there, like if the numbers don't automatically from quick comps look at 50%, like unless they're like pushing me to look at it more to see if I can find better comps, I'm really not looking at it.
50%, okay?
Yeah.
Sam's?
My biggest opportunity in 2022 is to find like the right people. I found it's not the how. I know how to do it. I know how to flip a house. I know how to make money flipping a house. I need like the people to help me find the houses, people who want to like live a life built by design. You want to go make the money. You want to run like the flip program for us, like our investment side. That's who I'm looking for. Like finding the right people.
So is this agent or?
Yeah, what do you say?
Agent, somebody who, I mean, we can even like, I even have thoughts of like opening like a division of like the Openshaw real estate group where we buy and flip or we buy and hold, we fix up. I mean, I'm a GC, I know people, sky is the limit. That's what I'm saying. Like you show me a good person and I will find an opportunity for you, hands down.
Okay. Matt?
I'm looking to be in relationship with as many people that want to do something in this industry as possible. Currently I'm in relationship with over 500 agents that we consistently talk every year. The goal is to get that to 1,000, 1,200 agents that we're purposefully being multidimensional in this space and we all win. So just to be in relationship with as many people as humanly possible and to grow our 5 business.
Okay. Ty?
Just want to make the world a better place, man.
We have a big goal this year to share 1.5 million in wholesale and commissions with agent population. So that's kind of our number one goal is to share, $1.5 million in profits.
So what needs to happen to make that?
Probably need to do 100 investment deals, if not a little bit more, with some big cracks.
Need to double. Okay. Heather?
So like sitting up here from like looking outside, it looks all angry and sexy and great. We have all these big numbers and it's gonna be all fantastic. Being married to one of them, I know that's not the truth. So, no, seriously. though.
Investing, not Sam.
Sam too.
The first deal is freaking hard, and I know there's like ups and downs, and I just think it would be super helpful for you guys to share like how you got your first deal, like what was the biggest challenge, like all of those things, so that we can hear what that was like.
The non-highlight reel.
I'll probably cry.
I can share the one right away I was sharing with him is that I just got back from KC last Thursday, but I got there Saturday and Thursday. And it was as far as putting out. I mean, I have a 26-unit hotel in Neodesha, Kansas that I went, and we're having to evict everyone. And then Kansas State's trying to have me cease and desist for get up to code. So we've been trying to deal with that. And they're like, ultimately, you're gonna need an architect to come and do fire rating. So like, I had to go there and secure the property, so it's not cash flowing, just sitting there. Then I had to deal with one of my GCs basically stealing money and marking it up way more than he's supposed to be doing. So, I mean, it wasn't smooth sailing this past week that I went there. Been a lot of losses, but here in Coronado, I lost $50,000 in the flip just because of the city at that time was going through short staffing. And right now they're going through the same thing. It's the city inspectors, they're having a third-party contracts. It happened to me in Coronado where it's just one inspector tell you, these are the things you need to fix, we fix it, and then a different inspector came to fix this and that, so it was like 3 or 4 times.
I was gonna tell, when you're talking about this hotels, you're talking fast. You bought a hotel that you're converting into studio apartments.
Yep, go right into the to studio apartment. So when it's a hotel, it becomes under jurisdiction of the state, so they're allowing me like, hey, you have to keep it up to code. I'm like, well, I'm converting them into apartments, like studios. And they're like, well, we didn't know that, but you still got to come up to code because it was vacant long enough that it's not grandfathered in to the old code. So I'm like, why don't you go pick on the other like, hotel, that's fine, whatever. Has rats and everything over there. I was like, I'm the one bringing it up, and it's like a small town, you know, shit, like, hotel, you just drive through, a lot of the truck drivers just pass right by it. It's like I think like 2,400 population in the town, so it's like, and there, a lot of people are kind of relocating there for like rents, or the school system there is good, so they're like shorts on rentals. I'm like, this is perfect for me, but it's making it complicated for me right now. A lot of the people that were happy that I was renovating it, but it's just, you know, the state's just picking on it. There's a lot of headaches.
Got a question. For someone starting out, a lot of you guys kind of mentioned different aspects, but what kind of recommendations for inner circle, professional circle, outside of an agent, loan officer, do you guys recommend as we start to look for? Maybe like an accountant, would you put that up there at the top? Maybe a lawyer. What are some of the things outside of yourselves? Who do I need to know that you guys know?
Basic groups been great.
Say it again.
Basic group, Facebook groups been great with like investors and wholesalers, because you have like wholesalers just beginning to start, or investors or lenders. So you always just find like Arizona or Phoenix investor groups, you know, just Google it in there and just join, and you just start having a different dialogue from different people, and you start picking up. Like for me, I know a lot of wholesalers out here, so like I'm on everyone's distribution list, most of them. Unless I don't know when you start wholesaling, but you know, in the beginning, they just contact you. Hey, I got, you know, a bunch of properties. You want to be on my buyers list? Yeah. But if you want to learn wholesaling, like go to wholesale groups on Facebook. So there's a bunch of gurus right now between All In, Cody Sperber. I mean, there's a lot of them if you want to do the wholesaling side. And then find lenders. You'll find lenders through those groups. You'll find lenders on just Facebook group, period. If you start looking hard money lenders, you can do that. But I would just start like going on YouTube. You can find a bunch of information. Brian Pinedo is another good one right now. He does wholesaling. He does Burr. He does flipping out of Vegas. But just start getting all the information going through your brain and your head, so it starts absorbing, and then when you actually start like implementing, it's gonna like stick to it.
I would be a little more specific. Like I would ask, you know, what are you looking to accomplish in the investment space? Like, what's your goal?
Right now, we're looking mainly at the passive income from holding. That's what we started on. My idea is to start there and then maybe branch after we get a foundation established.
And do you feel like you have a shortfall in that area somehow? Is it the finances? Is it finding the deal? Like, what piece of that? Why haven't you done it already?
So we have started.
Oh, you have started.
Yeah, we're just starting.
We started outside the market in the Midwest as well.
And right now, I guess my biggest weakness right now is, honestly, I feel like in taxes. What do I do with this capital outside of just instantly reinvesting it? How do I protect this capital? And so right
two
now, I'm
people,
looking
I
for
would
like
have a very good CPA that flirts with the line. Okay, there's a big difference in having a CPA that follows all the rules and one that flirts with the line. Find one that flirts with the line, and then I would have a financial advisor that can show you different investment vehicles that you could potentially put that money if you don't want to put it back in real estate. Those are the two people out there.
I found my CPA who has a good relationship with the tax attorney, that they both well together.
That's what you
want to flirt with that one.
Yeah.
How we got started with nothing. It comes down to sacrifice and what you want and how bad you want it. With our friends, we were, 25 years old, didn't have anything. We had retirement because we had the W-2 jobs. We pulled all of our retirement out, back to nothing. We bought one of Heather's grandma's house in Tempe. It was shit. Cast iron pipes, galvanized plumbing. We cut the hallway out underneath the kitchen. We dug down. We had piles of dirt in every bedroom. Heather comes back to the house like, what the? We replaced all the drain lines. We took all the money that we had. Well, our friends were at the lake. Our friends were buying new houses. Our friends were buying houses that were huge. We were in a piece of shit. We took all our money and put it and sacrificed it and put it in this flip, made a killing. We still have it, but that's the sacrifice that it comes down to. It pays off huge for you, because now when my friends want to go rent a boat to go on the lake, I go buy a boat to go on the lake. I have the nice house, they still live at the same house. I have multiple houses, they still have one house. It's the sacrifice, how bad do you want it? If you don't go and do it, you're not gonna get your goal. Sitting here talking about it is not gonna get you there. You have to freaking do something. It is a risk, but if you're smart, you pick up all these nuggets from these guys up here. You can ask us later how to do it. It's not rocket science. It comes down to sacrifice and how bad you want to freaking do it and what your plan is, and you're gonna stick to that plan. And you're gonna do it, and you're gonna kill it, and you're gonna make a lot of freaking money at it, okay? But it all comes down to sacrifice, 1000%. You can start with nothing and be more successful than Henry.
Henry started.
My first two were just, I moved out of the house I lived in and then bought owner occupied another one and rented that one out. So it wasn't like I was, because I kept thinking, oh, dude, how many get 20% or, that's a lot of money. At that time was like, how am I gonna do it? So I basically just said, okay, well, let's just start small and then keep it and then rent that out. And then I buy another one FHA and 3% down at the time. And then that would, and then that's how the first two happened, was just literally moving out of the home I lived in and then renting it.
That's the way I started.
I think,
That's not a cool story.
I think it is.
Almost Friday.
there's so many reasons on why to do it or why not to do it. The question is, what is the reason you're doing it? Me in particular, I hate retail real estate. I have no desire to drive around flipping buyers all day long and make $5,000 to $15,000 on a house. I can go take a house that I can go make $100,000 on. I can go do that 10 times in the time that it takes me to service 5 buyers. So it's a simpler track for me to fund my life. And that's why I don't have passive income right now. Right, I do need to work on that, but I want to fund my life. My flip business, my wholesale business funds my life. Last year, I only did 28 retail deals. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things. So, so it's, and the other thing is, like, you don't have to use your first house. You don't have to get your grandmother's house. You don't have to start such a hard way, dude. Like, you need to create a hit list of people in your world that have money. Does anybody know anybody that belongs to a CrossFit gym? I guarantee you they got a little bit of money. If you're willing to spend $200 a month for CrossFit, you got some cash, right? You need to look at your circle, and then you need to, what?
Pretty solid strategy.
It is, right?
You was being sarcastic.
No.
They do have some money.
They do, listen, I'm telling you.
Just 20, 30 is enough.
Yeah, you need to find someone that's got a little bit of capital and then you need to be good at one thing, and that's selling, and hopefully all you guys are selling. I went and raised $2 million with never doing a flip in my life. Well, that's not true. I raised $2 million by losing on a flip. The only flips I ever done, I ever lost money on. And I'm like, I'm gonna go flip, but I need money, so I'm gonna go sell a vision. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to do it. This is my vision. This is the business. This is what I want to create. The dude was like, I love it. How much you need? I'm like, 500. He goes, how about 2? And I'm like, 200? No, that won't work. I need 5. He goes, no, 2 million. What can we do? And I'm like, shit, let's go. And then the only other problem you have is not enough deals. Yeah. Go find the deals. And then how are you gonna go find the deals? You're gonna bang your head against the wall until you find deals, right? It doesn't have to be doom and gloom. There's money out there to go do a deal. You find the deal, there's more than enough money in this world to go do the deal. If you have to fund it 100% with someone else's capital, and let's say you had to give up all the money and you only kept 30, would you do it? Yeah. Kept 30%. It won't structure that way because you get to structure the deal because you found the deal, right? But if you had to give it all up, I'm saying that you would. So the biggest thing that I find is people don't have the experience in the construction industry to go and do it. You can find the money, you can find the deal, but you have no clue and you don't have anybody to trust in the construction space to go flip a house. So you're like, I'm not gonna do it because I don't have the knowledge. Now what do you have to do? You gotta go find the one piece. Go find the piece that you're missing. You're all just missing one piece to get started. Whether it's find the deal, find the capital, get the construction done. Something's not lining up in your world, you're missing a section of that. You need to start filling holes, but you need to do it purposefully if you really want to be in the space. And if you're not going to do it purposefully, I wouldn't even try. If you're not going to go in and go talk to 10 GCs or partner with someone or find good money, trustful money, and you're not going to go put the work into that, then just keep selling retail real estate and sell your deals off and do what you're doing. But be purposeful about what you want to create, and you'll be surprised at what you can do.
Okay, yes.
How have iBuyers impacted you all? How you had to kind of work around that?
The worst thing in the world. I'm at a kitchen table appointment. If they say they have an open door offer, I'm immediately going retail, trying to show them how I can smash, and I'm gonna list the property. I mean, you can't offer 70 cents on the dollar or 50 cents on the dollar when an iBuyer is giving them, 80 or 92%, 80%, even after fees and all that. It's a hard, like, at the end of the day, you're probably not gonna get that deal. So the question is, how can I pivot? I've been on listing appointments. I've told them that I have relationships with Open Door, Zillow, OfferPad. Let me get those offers for you. I'm at least gonna make my 1% on it, right? There's other ways that I'll work stuff, but cash, like my cash offer compared to their cash offer, I never win. I had 10, I should send it out. If you guys text me or email, send it. I have 10 commandments of investing that I would be happy to send you guys. And rule number 4, no means no. If it's not a deal, it's not a deal, move on. No means no. And I think one thing that you have to do in the investment space, and if you guys disagree, please jump in, is there has to be zero emotion. Don't get excited about the deal. Don't get jazzed about the deal. If the deal works, once you have contract on it, go execute on it. Get excited when that money goes into your bank account. That's the only time you get excited. You don't get excited on the acquisition. You don't get excited during rehab. You don't get excited until the offer's in, you went through inspection and you cash in the check. Then I say get excited. Because there's a lot of bullshit that can happen in between there that adjusts your profit margin super quick.
We've had different opportunities with iBuyers because we now are in a position where we get the turn downs.
Yeah.
So somebody will go into Open Door, for example, and say, I want an offer, but it's more than 600,000, or it's built before 1960, or there's leased solar, or it's in a gated community. These are all reasons they're going to get denied. So then what happens is we can either make an offer on that property, or we can, list it traditionally. But that's not something everybody has access to do, but we got that opportunity by I'm inputting addresses before I even go to listing appointment. So I already know when I go there if they've got enough to offer, because it's only related to one email address at a time for 30 days.
Yeah.
So when you get an appointment to go on a listing, I'm immediately putting that into OfferPad and Open Door just as an address, because that's going to lock that address into my email for at least a month. So that when I go to the appointment, we talk about, here are the options. I'm going to go back and get you offers, including what could be an offer from us, with no commission. So again, we're going to look at your net, because we're not going to offer as much as they're going to offer, but can we net you out a similar amount with the same ease? That is why they're popular. So that'd be the first thing I do, is I'd be putting those addresses into those portals. So it's opendoor.com/agent, for example, or offerpad.com. You can easily put anybody's address in there and essentially attach that to yourself for at least 30 days. That way they can't backdoor you and go get an offer from them after you've already met with them.
I've done some fun stuff where I started. When Zillow was buying like crazy, we took our flips and sold right to Zillow. We took our flips, sold right to like Open Door, and like we were having great success on that because their cash offer, they were overpaying.
Yeah.
Like, so we used them in the market when we could, and it was phenomenal. Same thing with funds, man. Like, there's some big funds out there right now paying all the money. Like our last 4 stucco tile flips never made it to the market. Submitted it to a fund, paid 0 in commission, and we sold the house for probably 10,000 more than we would have got on the MLS. Like, so there's some really big institutional buyers that are buying a lot of stuff right now.
Windows of opportunity.
Yeah.
They open slowly and they close.
Here's one thing, I would never be scared of them. Back to the point. Don't be scared of the iBuyers. Go play your game, get on more appointments, go do the things, and it'll all work out.
Well, one way to ensure that you're not competing with them is understand what their buy box is, and then go outside of that buy box and lead generate for opportunity.
Yeah, lease solar. I mean, if you ask about resources, that's an issue that we've seen a lot, like with solar on homes, either with retail or with iBuyers, right? So people who are looking for cash out options that wouldn't be in the buy box of those institutional buyers might be a good target for who might want the same type of program, but not able to get that from those institutional buyers.
Seller carries have been really good for us. We'll have the seller carry the note instead of getting hard money on it. we'll pay them the hard money fees. Like, so we got a deal in AJ that I think I'm 40 grand all in. We just sold it for 455. So 40,000, had lease solar, didn't want to assume it. Seller carried it. I gave them 10,000 for carrying for 4 months. And on that 40,000, we're gonna profit 60. So our cash on cash is like 115%.
So the seller carried it and split any profit?
Zero. Everything's
What do you
negotiable.
think the seller would want to like split profit if they carried?
Everything's
Do those
negotiable. I
deals?
said, hey, listen, I'll give you 10 grand for 4 months. They said, really? And I said, yeah. They said, "Okay." I didn't go, hey, I'll give you 50%. Everything's negotiable.
All right, is there any other questions? Yes.
Do you guys mess around with like vacation rentals with like Airbnb?
I want it so
All
bad.
long-term.
No, I want it so bad. Me and my wife have a goal to buy 2 this year. Homie in the back does it all the time, but I know him well. So, huge margin in it. I got some really good friends of mine that got portfolios of like 10 to 15, and they're doing anywhere from 35 to 60,000 a year in it. Like it's a good market, but I don't know anything about it. I don't hold. No, I had this. So listen, here's short-sightedness. You want me to be open and honest with you guys? I had a goal to hit a certain number in my bank account. Right? I wanted to see it. I grew up poor as fuck. I never had money. Like, it was important to me to see this number in my bank account. I had come to realize that I have to let that die so I can generate passive income. Because if I don't, I'm just stacking the money in my bank account for no reason. Right? So I had to have a mindset shift and say, okay, stop it. Let's go put some money into the marketplace so I can do the vacation rental so it doesn't stop me from passive income.
Well, you're actually losing money in that situation.
Ty, I already know. Just open it normally, you take it when I to make it worse. To make it worse, inflation. I know. Yes. I told you about my past.
Vulnerability.
Those are good. You want to have like a niche about it. You want to be on a lake. You want to be by the snow. You want to be something. There's got to be something special about that property. Why somebody want to go visit there?
Yeah, so I'm managing one out by like Atmosphere right now. That's perfect. It's like summers. I mean, you can charge like over $1,000 for the long weekend, and it's right on the river. And then winters, you have a kind of 30 and 60 day rentals.
Dude, I just did one with Steven here, the Market Center CEO, that we bought the house in Old Town Scottsdale, 3 minutes from downtown Scottsdale. I'm holding it, so I bought it. I'm holding it. I let him renovate it. He's buying it from me at an inflated ARV, so he's going to be 100% out, turn it into a vacation rental, and I got a premium on my sales price because I helped pay for it for the whole time I was remodeling. So there's definitely opportunities, and he's going to be renting like 400 a night, 350 a night. Converted it from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, and then I'm sitting here going, I had it 40 grand cheaper than he had it, right? What am I doing?
No HOA.
No
Anybody else?
HOA.
Is anybody else doing verbals?
McDonald's, right off of McDonald's.
Okay, what's your experience?
Good. Way to elaborate, dude. So yours are all cabins.
Yeah.
Up north.
Yep.
Right?
They're all.
And you've gotten 4 now?
We're just closing our third.
Third. Okay.
Third short-term rental, all, well.
But in like the last 12 months.
It's been 16 months since we closed on the first one.
I was off by
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm trying to make it sound really good. Right? You're messing my delivery.
So is a verbal management intensive?
Yes.
No.
Okay, expand. How's it not?
So
There's a lot of
we-
turns.
Yeah, so we utilize a third-party company that does the advertising, the syndication to Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, our own site, all that. And then we have on the ground cleaners and maintenance people that they get communication directly from that third-party company. So they know when the booking is happening and all that. I basically maintain being the guest contact. And I deal with when there are issues. And I probably field 3 phone calls a month from guests, and I know other people haven't had that same experience, but we've been pretty lucky to try to. Our cabins are only 2.5 hours away, so we get up there enough that we are very proactive and taking care of a lot of issues before they become issues. A lot of times it's just pain in the ass gas that become the bigger problem for me, I think. But I think think we don't personally handle like I said, the syndication, the calendar syncing between the different platforms and stuff.
Well, I think it's important to understand and be clear about what type of landlord you want to be. Because there is different levels of time and time. It comes down to time.
Kind of leverage your time and your money. You gotta figure out yes, we could make more if we handle all that ourselves, but how much more time are we going to have to dedicate to dealing with all of that? And on the spot stuff of syncing calendars and all that. So what we can leverage, we choose to leverage our time for the money and the cost of it is worth it to us for what we get for it.
And where you start might not be where you end.
I've learned I don't want to have a personal relationship with tenant ever.
Smart.
You like people too much.
Yeah.
Not personal time.
I got plenty of friends.
Yeah, it's not fun asking your mom to leave. Try to be nice and then you gotta.
Wait, you actually have to do that.
I know, that's what I said. I've done a lot, bad things.
Said, Mom, you're taking this place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have vacation rentals and I stopped because of the time constraint.
Yes.
So I recommend no matter what, you get a property manager to do it. Because if you got people checking in every week or something like that, you'll be on the phone all the time.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at in your investment maturity kind of too, and the time you have available to tend to it. I mean, I remember the first flip we did in 1998, man, I was there every day. I would have painted it if I'd known how to. No, I would have done that, but it's exciting, right? And then they get to a point where you got however many going on, there's no way you can get to them, right? So you put people in place and you put a construction company in place, you put your contractors in place. You manage your own and you figure out, well, that wasn't very smart. I can actually net more money out of it and not have the responsibility. Now we just get a statement every month and annually. And then we've done verbos and then that became management intensive. And then we looked at some numbers on verbos and said, man, long-term rental makes more sense. Yeah, we're getting inflated numbers for X amount of months in a season of a year, but when you run it out, and we're furnishing it and we're paying the utilities and we're doing these things. So you just gotta be really clear about what it is you want.
And also, don't be scared to partner with people, man. Like the flips, like this flip was literally over my head. I don't think I could have done it. And Sam knocked it out of the park. And did I leave money on the table? Could I have done it cheaper and made more money? Maybe, but why?
Well, here's the deal. No, why would
No, this wasn't a shot. Jesus, you ruined the whole thing. No, like don't be scared to partner with people that are in your world. Like how cool is it that we were both just a blessing to each other? I'm ecstatic that we're gonna make the money on it. Sam gets to keep it. That's it. You weren't. I wasn't a blessing. I'm a blessing, dog, every day. And it's been a great process. And I've only been in the house once.
I would agree, like if I had to, in order to get into something, if I had to lie, cheat, steal, kill, whatever, like that's what I would do to get into like investing and building your portfolio and that, like, you have to partner with people you might not want to, you might have to get like more, like profit share ownership to, somebody like, we own a house with my father-in-law, like how much fun do you think that is? But that's what I gotta do to make money, and if that's what you gotta do, don't be afraid to do that, to like get your foot in the door.
Relationships is a blessing.
I love.
Yeah. The relationships are like that's the number one asset. So maybe you take a little bit less on this deal to maintain the relationship because you might have a long term.
It's so much bigger than that though, because we literally got done with this one. We got on the phone with each other and say, "Hey, how many you want to do this year?" And I said, he's like, "I don't know. You want to do 5 or 10?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was thinking like 20." But you know what I'm saying? And then we're having a conversation. Now we're having a conversation. Okay, how many can we really do together? And can it be? It was great. I didn't have to pay any rehab. Well, it was great.
If you can leave a little money in for the next guy, no matter what the relationship is.
100%.
Yeah, don't be greedy.
Yeah.
It's a long term play of it. So be good.
I'll show you how to flirt with that line too.
Yeah.
How many properties would any of you say that you managed before you decided that it was time to hire a property management company?
That's you.
When we were 20 27, 28 years old. We had like 14 properties at one time, and Heather managed all of them. But like, it consumes a lot of time, but when you go into a rental property, like, people say, oh, put cheap stuff in a rental, that's false. You wanna put good stuff in a rental because you don't wanna do callbacks. Like that property in Tempe that I talked about, we freaking ripped open all the concrete, dug up all the sewer lines, replaced all the water lines. I have to put it in my GPS to go back to that rental because I ain't been there in 5 years, right? Like, that's what you wanna do. You don't wanna have to be called back because the toilet plumb's bugged. Put good stuff in those properties and they're eating. Then, like, managing them as cashing checks. And then when somebody wants to rent them out, you put it on Facebook and you rent the thing out. But if you do a piss poor job on the rehab, you're a handyman. Every weekend you're going out there and you're fixing a freaking toilet or something, right? That's what I don't want to do that.
Question? Anybody else?
But there is a time. It's what your time is worth. 1,000%. There's going to be a time where it's like, I don't want to mess with that. Because my time is more valuable than something else. So it's, I mean, that's what you feel comfortable with. But one day your time is going to be very, very valuable.
The answer is one.
This is one or it's different, right? But it's you.
All right, let's give these guys a big round of applause. You guys gonna be here for a few minutes? Anybody wants to come talk with you? All right, I think there's drinks and snacks up there.